Okay, let's talk about something that's, well, it's really loaded, isn't it? The whole topic of penis size and female satisfaction.
Definitely loaded. And so much misunderstanding, frankly. So much exaggeration, too.
Right. It causes huge insecurity, but the cultural story around it is just so loud, it's almost impossible to hear what's actually true.
It really is. It's like this ultimate cultural pressure point.
Yeah.
For generations, the assumption has been, that one measurement tells the whole story of pleasure.
Yeah, but that assumption, it doesn't really hold up, does it?
Yeah.
Not when you look at physiology or behavioral science.
Not really, no.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to try and cut through some of that noise.
Yes.
We've pulled together a bunch of sources, some objective research, some stats,
Mm-hmm.
and also some really fascinating, very personal commentary. We looked closely at the FYE podcast. They had some very frank discussions on there.
Oh, yeah, definitely unedited. And we also use some data visuals, like from the intimacy equation.
Exactly. So the goal isn't just, reading out numbers.
Right.
We want to kind of synthesize the data with these really different real-world experiences to figure out what her pleasure actually means.
Yeah.
And maybe why it seems to change so much depending on who you ask.
Okay, so let's start with the baseline from the research, because this is where that cultural story just kind of falls apart.
Yeah, what does the objective research actually say about size and satisfaction? What's the consensus?
Well, the consensus is pretty straightforward, actually. For the vast majority of women, size is not the main thing determining sexual satisfaction.
Okay.
It's something that gets totally lost in all the, locker room talk or jokes. The sheer number of women who are perfectly happy is huge in major studies.
Give us the number then, the hard statistic.
Okay, so a large, well-cited study found that 85% of women said they were satisfied with their partner's penis size.
85%. Wow.
Yeah, think about that. If 85% are satisfied, then being dissatisfied is actually pretty uncommon. It's the outlier.
But the media, the jokes, all the cultural fear,
Yeah.
it makes you think it's the other way around.
Exactly. It implies dissatisfaction is the norm.
So how is that even possible? Physiologically, I mean.
Well, it goes back to some classic research. Masters and Johnson, decades ago, they pointed out that the vagina is a potential space.
Potential space, meaning...
Meaning it's not like a fixed container. It's
Yeah.
incredibly adaptable. It literally molds itself to accommodate a really wide range of sizes.
Ah,
So this anatomical flexibility means the body itself is kind of designed to get decent stimulation, whether a partner is, smaller or larger than average.
so the body is adaptable. The mechanics are more forgiving than all the anxiety suggests.
Precisely. The body adapts. Maybe the mind is less flexible sometimes.
Okay, so even with that high satisfaction rate, 85%, sometimes size does matter to certain individuals, right?
Absolutely. And when it does, the research gets really specific about how it matters. It's not just about the total length. We need to look at the different dimensions.
Okay, let's break that down. The geometry of pleasure, let's call it. If size is a factor, what aspect are we talking about? Length, width.
When women are surveyed, they pretty consistently indicate that girth, so the circumference tends to be more important than length for overall satisfaction.
Right, and the logic there seems pretty straightforward. Girth means more.
Yeah.
Volume fills the space more width-wise.
Exactly. More contact. It offers broader stimulation to both the inner and outer vaginal areas, and importantly, the clitoral regions too. It's more about the volume of sensation, not necessarily just how deep it goes.
Gotcha. So sensation volume, not depth.
That's a good way to put it. And the source material we looked at had some really specific numbers that show this slight preference.
Okay.
First, let's just ground ourselves in the average erect size. Research puts it around 5.1 to 5.5 inches long
And girth.
and about 4.5 to 4.7 inches in girth. That's the average range.
Okay, average. But what about preferred size? I know some studies used 3D models.
Yeah, exactly. When women use those models to pick an ideal size, maybe thinking about a long-term partner, they didn't suddenly jump to huge dimensions.
That's a key point, right? No massive leap.
Not at all. The preference was only slightly larger than average. The ideal length they picked was around 6.3 inches, so about an inch longer than average.
Okay, an inch longer. And girth.
And crucially, the preferred girth was only about 4.8 inches.
Huh. So length preference increased a bit more than girth preference?
Well, the girth preference increase is smaller, yes, But it's that slight increase in girth, that volume, that seems to be the more consistent point of interest when size is considered, not extreme length.
It's a subtle difference, but telling.
Very telling.
Okay, so the data strongly suggests size isn't the be-all and end-all for most women. And even when it is a factor, it's more about girth, that volume, than extreme length.
Right.
So if we shift focus completely away from anatomy, what is driving that high satisfaction rate then? What do the sources say really matters?
This is where it moves into skills and the overall environment of intimacy. The factors that research repeatedly finds are way more significant boil down to basically three things.
Yeah, sure.
Emotional connection, sexual technique and skill, and making time for decent foreplay.
Okay, and the difference there feels really important. Size is static, right? It's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But technique, connection, foreplay,
Yeah,
those are dynamic. You can control them, improve them, change them based on your partner.
exactly. That's the crucial part. If you synthesize all this, satisfaction isn't really a measurement issue. It's more often a communication issue or an effort issue.
Right.
Like technique that covers everything from pacing, angles, how long, the rhythm, all of it.
And foreplay is about time, focus, creativity,
Yeah.
getting things ready, maximizing sensitivity before intercourse.
Yes. These are the variables that actually lead to reliable, repeatable pleasure. They just outweigh the starting size of the equipment, you could say.
So 85% satisfaction according to research. That's the big number.
Yeah.
But if that's true, why is there still so much cultural chatter, so many jokes, so much media implying size is everything?
Yeah. This is where we have to pivot. We move from the objective data to the, let's say, messy, very subjective world of personal experience.
Okay.
And this is where we drew a lot from those really frank conversations on the FYE podcast.
Because those individual, really intense personal preferences, even if they only represent that other 15%.
They drive the conversation. They drive the social narrative. And you see this fierce division. People have strong, sometimes opposing views.
Okay, let's hear some of them. Start with the Size Matters camp. Blaze, one of the hosts, she was very specific.
Yeah, she laid out numbers, said she could deal with 5 or 6 inches.
Okay, Dio was
7 inches was her favorite, her sweet spot.
7. Okay.
But then she drew a line. 8 inches was a bit too much, said it caused pain, and her conclusion was definite. Size most certainly does matter for her.
Wow, very clear boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And then Nikki, another voice on there, took a really strong stance too, argued that, a teensy tiny penis, her words might mean you need toys or fingers to finish.
Right.
And she brought up this idea, kind of controversial, that if a woman had previously experienced a much larger partner, been, quote, bottom knocked out,
Right.
they might genuinely struggle to feel enough stimulation from a smaller size later on. So linking personal history directly to physical requirements.
Okay, so past experiences shaping current needs. And Shayla.
Shayla agreed with them, said flat out she ain't engaging in sexual activity with a man that has a baby-sized penis.
Oh.
Yeah. These are really strong, non-negotiable personal stances. It shows how individual preference can just completely ignore the statistical average.
Mm-hmm.
But then, just as strong, you get the complete opposite view. The love and chemistry camp. It shows how wildly different experiences can be.
Okay, like who?
Well, Rake emphasized chemistry, mental connection. Said size doesn't matter much for her.
Didn't she have a caveat, like a warning for the other end of the spectrum?
She did. A really important one. She said for guys who are like 8 or 9 inches or even longer, gentleness and technique are absolutely crucial, mandatory. They have to avoid what she called drill or jackhammer techniques.
Okay, so that tells us something too. Even if average size doesn't dictate pleasure, extreme size on the large end brings its own set of challenges, requires skill to avoid pain.
Exactly. It's not just about pleasure then, it's about comfort and safety.
And then there was Paula. She had a totally different take again.
Oh, Paula was the perfect counterpoint. Claimed size does not matter.
Yeah.
Said her partner is 5 inches hard.
5 inches. Below the average range we talked about.
Right. And she said he has her throbbing. Attributed all the satisfaction to the motion in the ocean. Pure technique and connection for her.
Motion in the ocean.
Okay.
And Mallory.
Mallory took maybe the most philosophical view. Suggested size just shouldn't matter if you're really in love.
The love conquers all argument.
Kind of, implying that deep emotional intimacy should be enough, regardless of the physical dimensions. It's just an incredible spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah. From needing exactly 7 inches to saying love is all you need. It really covers all bases.
So you've got this amazing range. The data says most people are fine, statistically speaking, but then you hear these incredibly specific, intense personal views going in completely opposite directions.
Yeah, that's the core conflict, right?
Yeah.
So what's the bridge? How do you connect fixed anatomy with flexible satisfaction?
Well, a couple of key things came up in the sources. Honesty and focus seem to be crucial.
Honesty, how?
One of the callers, Mallory, actually made this point. If size does genuinely matter to you, personally, you kind of owe it to yourself and your potential partner to be honest about that early on.
Right. To avoid wasting time or, worse, hurting someone down the line if it's a deal breaker for you.
Exactly. Hiding that kind of preference doesn't usually end well.
Okay, so honesty is key if it matters to you.
Oh.
And for everyone else, or for couples looking to enhance things regardless of size.
Then the focus shifts entirely. It moves away from the fixed dimension and onto technique and connection, things you can control and improve.
Right. And the sources mention specific things people can explore.
Absolutely. Constructive alternatives for deepening intimacy that have nothing to do with size. Things like exploring tantra,
Okay.
role-playing, maybe going on spa or relaxation retreats together, doing yoga or exercise to increase body awareness and connection.
So all things that build intimacy, communication, and physical awareness, separate from just the mechanics of intercourse.
Precisely. The underlying message here is actually pretty empowering, I think. Your anatomy might be fixed, but almost everything else that really drives satisfaction.
Your skills, your
Yeah.
connection, how you
Yeah.
communicate.
Yeah, all of that is completely changeable. It's improvable. It's malleable.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up for you. Let's synthesize what we've covered. The research, first off, it offers huge reassurance, right?
Massive reassurance. That 85% satisfaction number really challenges the popular idea that size is critical for everyone. It's just not the case for most.
And when size is a factor for someone, the preference tends to lean towards girth, not extreme length. And even then, it's often just a marginal increase over the average that people are interested in.
Mm-hmm. A subtle shift towards volume.
And maybe most importantly, all the data, all the anecdotes, they kind of point in the same direction at the end of the day.
Yeah, that success and intimacy, genuine satisfaction, it's overwhelmingly a skills-based thing.
Driven by emotional connection, good technique, putting in the effort, not just anatomical stats.
Exactly. And knowing that should be kind of liberating, don't you think? It shifts the focus away from anxiety about something you can't change
I'd like to this.
and towards excitement about improving things you can change, your skills, your connection.
Okay, so here's your final thought to chew on. Given that the research shows this high satisfaction rate, the 85%, and yet we hear these extremely fierce, super specific demands and preferences in those anecdotal discussions, what does that tell us? What does it tell us about the power of expectation?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? Is personal satisfaction defined more by the actual physical feeling? Or is it more about whether the experience aligns with a psychological expectation you already hold?
It makes you wonder how much the idea in our head shapes the reality we experience.
It suggests that the subjective reality of desire, what you want or expect, often carries more weight than any statistical average. Knowing 85% are fine is great. It's reassuring background noise.
Oh.
But if you happen to be one of the 15% with a really firm boundary or specific preference, well, then that preference becomes your personal truth, your non-negotiable reality.
So it just reminds us again that every intimate relationship is its own little universe.
Exactly. Governed by its own unique laws of communication, connection, and, yes, physical desire.